Alright then. I have this on my community note things as 6 sub-chapters, but I feel like this is the last one, isn't it? Like, I fought the guy, and I got the kid, so I don't know how this would be 6. That was my first time losing consciousness. You often hear of regaining consciousness on top of a bed, but this was my first time actually experiencing it. Hello? Are you okay? Realizing I was awake, a young doctor called out to me. Yeah, because this is just, the final chapter, isn't it? Just me going back home. I didn't intend to respond, but it seems my body, language had told him I was conscious. My head was wrapped in bandages. The scratches all over my body had also been treated. My sense of pain also returned with my consciousness, causing me to groan from the intense pain shooting all throughout me. Don't try to get up, just, stay lying down, please. Oh, hello, Dr. Ivy. It seems that you took quite a few blows to the head. I want you to stay rested so we can monitor your condition for at least the next 24 hours. Where is this? This is my clinic. Pleased to meet you. My name is Ivy. I remember that this young doctor was the one in the car headed the opposite way earlier. Is there someone here? Where's Ushi? Ah, I'll call him over. There's no smoking inside the clinic, so I had him smoke outside. Dr. Ivy left the room to go call Ushi. The scenery outside the window was tinted with gold. The pouring rain had stopped. The voice of the Higurashi, hurling, the cooling temperature. Okay. I felt that the tone of the Higurashi's voice was comforting. Eventually I could hear heavy footsteps coming closer, which I reckoned to be Ushi's. The fog that was enveloping my head slowly fades back to reality. What happened since then? What had happened to the boy? What about the reinforcements from Tokyo? The doors to the room flung open, allowing Dr. Ivy and Ushi to enter. So, there's no serious damage, is there? I can't promise, I assessed the wound to his head, was dangerous the moment I saw it. I got it. I want to have a little chat alone with him for a bit, would you mind? Yeah, go ahead, call me if anything happens. Ushi, after basically forcing Dr. Ivy outside, shut the door. How are you feeling? It is something I'm not used to, so I'm pretty banged up all over. She brought over a folding chair that was leaning against the wall and sat down beside the door of the bed. Not the door. Oh, were the perpetrators arrested? Unfortunately, no. They probably already fled the preference, or being hidden by the villagers. Well, we won't let them get away. What about the minister's grandson? They're taking care of him at the station. But your colleagues from Tokyo are rather insistent that nothing be recorded. Shin-chan doesn't like that too much. Nah. The kidnapping was a confidential matter, so his custody was also probably being kept under wraps. How the kidnapping of the minister's grandson would be handled, how it would be covered up, treated like it never happened, would be handled by the brass. If this case ended without the nation going into an uproar about it, then our job had been done. The possibility that the minister had negotiated with the perpetrators couldn't be ruled out. But something like that was no longer my concern. My role in this case was over. Sorry for the trouble. You must think that public safety is rather unseemly place, don't you? No. We all work on the government's dime. Ushi laughed boisterously. When we first met, I was somewhat prejudiced against Ushi, but now that feeling was completely gone. It was more convenient for us if this case was handled properly instead of being hidden away. If that happened, we would be able to have somebody to go at the Shinozaki family with, since they were behind it all. Well, if we just stop poking around, we'll get all sorts of pressure put on us, though. What a mess. Are you going to continue the fight against the Shinozaki family after this? Nah. There's all sorts of dark rumors swirling around them, but it's not like I have a personal grudge. But it'd be wise not to step on any toes here. I think your opinion's gonna change in a couple of years, but whatever. Nah. Ushi laughed happily, and I couldn't help but laugh along. Oh, that's right. There's a word at the station from the preference police. Your colleagues arrived at Nagova and are driving up here right now. You got your battle scar, so You're being recalled to Tokyo apparently. That's how it's shaking up. Good job. Your work in Akinomiya is safely over. I was being recalled to Tokyo. I inadvertently breathed a sigh of relief when I heard those words. I'm deeply thankful for your cooperation, Ushi-san. It seemed the collaboration fee I paid you didn't go to waste. Nah, I kinda meant that as a joke though. Ushi took out his wallet, casually put us several large bills and jammed them into the breast pocket of my shirt. This isn't a refund on the collaboration fee, you hear? This is just me gifting you a little spending money. The booze around here is pretty good. You use this to buy yourself a little souvenir. Ushi flashed me a grin. If your injuries turn out to not be too serious, call me before you head back to Tokyo, will you? The old man and Sato said they would like to sit at the table with you again. Oh my, can't refuse that now, can I? And no tricks this time, just some plain old fun. They would say that. This world is done for if an active officer can cheat that blatantly. It's not that often that we meet someone who's more than a match for us. It's too bad you're going back to Tokyo. When I heard the words going back to Tokyo from Ushi, I was reminded once again that I was relieved from my duties. Soon Yuki would be giving birth. It might still be possible to attend the delivery that I had at one point given up on. When I thought that, the pain from my injuries became trivial. I wanted to hurry back to Tokyo and see Yuki at once. Can you pretend that your injuries are a bit more serious and hang around Akinomiya for a bit? I can introduce you to a few nice places. Of course I won't make you pay for everything. Nah, I'm terribly sorry, but I'll have to take a rain check on that. My wife is due to give birth any day now. I want to hurry back home. Oh my, I didn't know that. Then you shouldn't be hanging around here. You have to hurry back home. For a while after that, Ushi asked all sorts of questions about my wife, teasing and bantering with me. Bum, 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 ba, bum, ba. Well then, how do you feel? Think you can get up? Yeah, it's not so bad, thank you. Thanks to you. I can get up and walk no problem. I stood up and shuffled around for a bit, but seemed to amuse Ushi. Nah, I just thought you might not feel comfortable at a hospital in Himazawa. Dr. Ivy said he wanted you to stay overnight, but we still haven't caught the perpetrators. For the time being, this is enemy territory for you after all. Are you saying this hospital isn't safe? Nah. Well, Dr. Ivy is someone who's well regarded in the community. I don't think anything will happen while you're here, but I'm more worried about your mental health. I had relaxed a bit now that things had progressed this far, but it's exactly as Ushi had said. When I realized that this was enemy territory, I suddenly felt uncomfortable. But the only thing left for me to do was leave. The chance that I would come to harm was logically fairly low, but that didn't mean I was completely safe. That's right. If I'm just going to be lying down, then doing it at a hotel bed won't be all that different. Right. I also think that's for the best. At that moment, I caught a glimpse of the clock over Ushi's shoulder. It was the evening. The hours when I could call Yuki at the hospital were almost over. I wanted to tell her as quickly as possible that I would soon be back at her side. I want to call Yuki at the hospital. Is there a public phone in the lobby? Nah, you newlyweds are all like this. If I recall correctly, there's one by the register. I'll be waiting here, so go ahead. Ushi laughed, laughing while saying that. He was jealous, opened up the window and pulled out a cigarette, even though he was in a hospital room. Appreciatively, at how considerate Ushi was, I set out to the lobby to find the phone. The lobby was just a short distance down the hallway from the hospital room. I thought that this hospital was a bit too grand for a village like this, but of course there was nothing compared to the general hospital Yuki was admitted to. Running inside a hospital wasn't the best of manners, but calling hours would end, so I dashed over in a hurry. There was nobody left in the lobby. It may have been the evening, but there was nobody at the reception desk. Well, this might actually be lucky for me. I wasn't planning to have a conversation to feel guilty about, but it would still be embarrassing to have someone listen to the conversation between me and Yuki. So at the beginning, they said I could consider this canon or not, right? So what even happened in this chapter? I just went to Himazawa. I met Rika-chan. Rika-chan told me to go back to Tokyo. It's a big thing, I guess. She was to do the little smug face. and then I saved the minister's grandson. Like, this, not that. It's not like there's anything that's really conflicting with the other chapters, so I don't know why I wouldn't consider it canon. And the reason I heard about it is because they're being really secretive about it. Whatever. I wasn't planning to have a conversation to feel guilty about, but it would still be embarrassing to tell someone listening to the conversation between me and Yuki. Don't know if I read that one. Taking a quick look around, I soon found the payphone. Digging around in my pocket, I grabbed a few coins. I was going in Tokyo from here, so I would burn through this amount fairly quickly. I picked the receiver and inserted a coin, then the number of Yuki's hospital, which I had completely memorized at this point. Whew, whew, whew. The number for Yuki's hospital had a lot of 8s and 9s, so dialing it inevitably took some time. Oh, it's one of those spinny phones, I see. Normally it wouldn't be a big deal, but currently any time was precious. However, I felt that something was strange as I was dialing in the number. I don't know how to put it, but it was as if the receiver was too quiet. The unique white noise from the telephone line wasn't there. Somehow I felt like I wasn't getting any feedback from the phone, and without getting a response, I hung up the receiver to try again. The coin popped out from the return slot. I reinserted the coin and began dialing once again, but the receiver was still dead silent. What is this? Is it disconnected? While I was wasting time like this, the amount of time I had to spend talking with Yuki shrunk. I began to feel needlessly impatient. Excuse me, I felt like the presence of someone on the other side of the glass, so I called out. There was an immediate response, and a man who seemed like a pharmacist came over. Yes, how can I help you? Pardon me, this phone seems to be acting a little strange. Could you take a look at it? The man came over and tried testing various things with the receiver pressed to his ear. Come to think of it, this was someone who worked at the hospital, not someone from the phone company. Just as I didn't know much about phones, neither was he. Huh? What's this? The man held up the cord that connected the phone to the wall. It was completely severed. What the heck is this? Well, this is a dilly of a pickle. Can't do anything with this until someone from the phone company comes and fixes it. If you're looking for a phone, do you want to use the one in the office? I didn't want the people in the hospital to hear me while I was talking. Is there another payphone close by? Let's see. If you leave here and follow the road, you'll come out into the shopping district. I think there's a smoke shop on the corner around there. If you head that way, you should be able to find one soon enough. I was dressed in a hospital gown. I was wearing sandals on my feet. My head was wrapped in bandages. Just looking at me, you could tell I was a hospital patient. No matter how you looked at it, I was not dressed to be wandering outside. But that's where the imprudence of your youth came in. Choosing the chance to talk to Yuki for even a little longer, I headed outside in my current state. Followed the road to the shopping district. Should be able to find one soon enough. With only those 2 lines as my guide, I ran outside the gate of the hospital. It was dark. With the village nested in a valley and the sunset it got dark quickly. The sparse streetlights lit up enough to start attracting moths. So did I instantly just get bandaged up and then wake up on the same day? Maybe. The Higurashi, knowing the time for their chorus was soon as at a close, redoubled their fragile cries. Finding the painful was as easy as the person at the hospital had suggested. Was it still up ahead? Did I miss it already? Was I just getting farther away? Just as I was about to be crushed by the waves of uncertainty towering over me, I found a shop on this corner with cigarettes written on the small sign. My joy spun me around onwards. Just as I had heard the hospital's set, and next to the counter of the cigarettes shop was an antiquated payphone. I wasn't wearing a watch, so I didn't know what time it was. I probably didn't have much time left though, but it was enough. Just as long as I could tell Yuki my job was done, and I'd be coming home soon. Picking up the receiver, I slid the coin into the slot, but I felt that something was strange, just like at the hospital. Even after inserting the coin, the phone showed no response. I hung up the receiver and tried to put in the coin in one more time to check the wire, but there's absolutely no response. This phone was dead. It couldn't be. Thinking that, I felt along the cord that protruded from the back of the phone. Also cut? Yeah, okay. Doing that, my hands found the end of a completely severed line. They don't like phone calls in Himazawa for some reason. What is this? Having now had the same thing happen twice, my bafflement was accompanied by a sense of unease. It seemed that the cord had been severed cleanly by a knife, by a sharp blade of some sort. I may be mistaken, but it didn't seem like much time had passed since it was cut. I don't know why it's being cut. That doesn't seem relevant to the minister's grandson at all. Excuse me. Hello? Opening up the booth, a window of the tobacco shop, I looked for someone in the dimly lit interior. It's a bit like Vika's death in the last chapter. That was completely relevant as well. Eventually, there were the sounds of somebody plodding down some stairs, and an old lady appeared. The old lady's plodding and lethargic steps, for some reason, only served to make me feel more frantic. You need some cigarettes? I'll need to get my husband. I'm not here to buy cigarettes. Well, this phone here. Realizing that saying the phone was broken and asking them to take a look at it was going to get me nowhere, I swallowed back my words. Sorry, it seems that this phone is broken. I was wondering if you could tell me where there's another payphone. The old lady moved her jaw up and down slowly, as if chewing on the meaning of my words. It seemed that she didn't quite understand until she had digested things thoroughly. So the phone is broken? That's a dilly of a pickle. The second time someone said that. You should try another payphone. The old lady directed me to another payphone that seemed quite a ways away. Her way of telling me was so long-winded that I inadvertently started to get impatient. At that moment, I spied a clock in the dim interior of the shop. The minute hand was just about to point straight up. Even if there was a phone right here that I could use, I would only be able to tell Yuki goodnight the time I had left. It doesn't take that long to say it, like, just speak really quickly, like, oh, I'm coming home, by the way, tomorrow. Like, you don't have to say goodnight. I'm pretty sure the first you telling her that you're coming home is more important, but whatever. Except that my destination was a remote payphone which I didn't know the exact distance to. If I was of a normal state of mind, deciding to give up the phone today would have been the natural thought process. But at that moment I had become somewhat stubborn for some reason. Unable to use the phone at the hospital and coming out here, and still unable to use one. It was no mistaking that I had become quite insistent on using a phone. Ah, thank you very much. I'll try looking for that phone booth. If you think I offered to draw me a map, I left the tobacco shop. According to the old lady, even though the phone booth was quite far away, it would be easy to find. If I just followed this road straight down, I'll eventually find it. Sandals flapping as I ran, I couldn't help but laugh at myself. I'll admit that I was quite steady fast about calling Yuki, but there were days when I was tired or busy when I couldn't call her. Even today, my entire body was covered with injuries and I was dead tired. On top of that, there wasn't much time left. It wouldn't be strange at all if today was one of those days I didn't call her. But having twice been foiled trying to call her, had I become hard-headed about it? Was I like a hot dog who was being told to stay with like a dog, not a hot dog, with a piece of fruit dangling in my face? What am I doing? Even so, I somehow couldn't quell the uneasy feeling sitting in the pit of my stomach. It was like that with the hospital phone, and the same with the one at the tobacco shop. Both the cords were definitely not severed from being frayed by a long years of use. The clean cuts indicated someone had taken something sharp and deliberately cut them. But who, and for what reason? The more I thought about it, the more uneasy I felt, so I tried to push the door aside. How much time had I run so far? The scenery around me was no longer that of a shopping district with residential buildings scattered about the lonely road. The surroundings had already grown dark. I was barely out too far for a quick phone call, and it was quite obvious I was far removed from the hospital. I guess the chapter 1 death was also kind of strange. I recalled the clock I saw at the tobacco shop, because it seemed like the footsteps killed him with that one, didn't they? I don't wonder what that was about. But they held me in the third one? Well, they listened to me, apparently. It might almost be time. I had run run for quite a bit, so my breathing had grown quite ragged. If I had just wanted to hear Yuki's voice, I should have just thrown away my reservations and borrowed the phone in the office. I regretted it a little. Well then, was it about time to give up? Just when I had thought that, I saw the light in front of me. I had finally found it. It was a phone booth. Oh, this is where Tommy Tech died. It seemed that the light in the phone booth had recently been changed, as it shone with a vivid white light. Although in the gloom of Himizawa it was nothing more than a gathering spot for moths. But in any case, I had finally found it. As my hand touched the door of the phone booth, I realized that I was breathing and sweating heavily. I didn't know what time it was right now, but even if just for a moment I might be able to get in touch with Yuki. Since I had spent all this effort getting here, turning back without even giving it a try was out of the question. Hmm. I picked up the receiver, another wave of unease washed over me. I was worried that this phone call might be severed as well. How was the cord in this phone booth? Squatting down, I followed the bundle of cables as they ran along the corners into the ceiling. At a glance, nothing was out of the ordinary. I ran my fingers as far as I could see along the line to check it out. The only thing they found was a thick layer of dust. Nothing out of the ordinary. I wondered if it was popular in Himazawa to cut the cords of payphones as a sort of tasteless prank. It might be improved then to talk to Ushi-san about this later. Even if it was nothing more than a prank, it was still vandalism of public property. In any case, this one was fine this time. Uh, Pulling out a coin from my pocket with one hand, I picked up the receiver with the other. By this time, before the receiver even reached my ears, I felt something was off. The receiver was light. It was more light than a slightly unpleasant feeling. It was, well, almost sickening. Oh, it has nothing inside of it? To verify the source of my displeasure, I peered at the receiver in my hand with a measure of reluctance. What the hell is this? The cord coiled that connected the receiver to the rest of the phone had been ripped apart. The tip of the cables swaying in the air. Hmm. It was all I could do to restrain myself as a raw and unpleasant feeling worked its way the small of my back, up the small of my back. Hmm. It was a type of dread. At that moment I heard the crunch of somebody stepping on gravel. The light was reflecting off the glass walls of the booth, leaving me unable to see inside into the darkness. I steeled myself and stepped outside of the phone booth. The inside of the phone booth was alit with that strong light, which might have made it warmer in there. So stepping outside I could feel a chill wash over me, and there was the silhouette of a person. A small silhouette. Your The long hair of that silhouette was blown about by a cool breeze. Is it Rika? They're like the only person I've seen. Injured people shouldn't be sneaking out of the hospital. It is. Like, I've seen Mium, but that's only the extra thingies. The tips. Somewhere in my head I knew who this girl was. I didn't have any basis for it, but I knew that she was that girl. Right, Asaka-san? She's Rika Furutu. Said that almost like it was a warning. Did you just do this to the phone cord? My expression remained unchanged, and my question was left unanswered. In other words, no response. Regardless, I felt she had affirmed my suspicion. Why would she do something like this? Why? The word had a tinge of anger behind it. I frankly tried to smooth things over, but she doesn't seem very afraid. There's nothing that can be done. Huh? Interpreted her words as meaning that I wasn't going to be in time for calling hours at the hospital. But thinking about it, that would have been a very thing to say. Why would she know something like that? I could take that. I could take what she had said to have another meaning. She just stood there like a mannequin, not even moving an inch. Almost to the point that if the wind wasn't occasionally rushing through her long hair, there would be the illusion that time had stopped. I know very well what you think. I'm disgusting, Asaka-san. Huh? Huh? No? That's not true. My nod came out almost like a bad piece composed for a poetry slam. But her words were right on the mark. Why do I think she's disgusting? I had always felt something ominous and uncanny about her. Ever since her strange threats to the shrine. Smug face. Hihi. She had noticed that my expression was, contrary to my words, seemingly laughing at the gap between them. Saka-san, you coward. Hihihihi. I'm not a coward. Being laughed at by the small child didn't sit well with me, so I said that. Even if you find another phone, it's too late. Sigh. That's right. She didn't even have to say it. It was absolutely too late. I might have already missed calling hours even by the time I reached this phone booth. I was too late. I had no option but to give up for today. Once I decided that my unhealthy obsession with phones suddenly faded. Even when I thought that it was strange that I was that obsessed, maybe it's Orishida-sama's curse. With that strange obsession now gone, I began to laugh at how hopeless I was. I mean, just look at what I was wearing. It wasn't normal. There's hospital gown and sandals. I don't think obsessions are linked with that, right? I don't know. Maybe because we were really like suspicious in the first chapter, and that's when we died. And the second one, I broke into the warehouse, I guess. It's not really an obsession though, is it? Third one, I was obsessed with killing Stogo's uncle, I guess. Well, not really. I was obsessed with protecting Stogo, maybe. I don't know. Or maybe it's obsessions. I don't know. Hospital gown and sandals. My head wrapped in bandages and my body completely soaked in sweat. Hmm. It was a wonder that the old lady at the tobacco shop wasn't surprised to see me. With wanted to hear Yuki's voice as my motive, I had trapezed around the town the entire evening. I didn't know whether to call it the follies of youth or simply plain embarrassing. In any case, it was all I could do but to laugh at myself. Now, there's nothing left for Osaka-san to do tonight. You're right, there's nothing left. I'll just quietly return to the hospital. That's fine. Do you know the way? I hope I do. She waved her little hand as I began to head back the way I came. She began to follow alongside me. Looking at her face, I could see that she wore a mischievous smile, as if she was extremely interested in whether or not I would get lost. Is Rika-chan's home also this way? It is. Won't your parents be mad that you're walking around alone at this hour? Not really. My parents are busy today, so they probably forgot about me. Even then, it's best if you head on home. They'll definitely be angry. Even if they are, it's much more interesting to talk with Asaka-san, so I'm fine. She said that with a face free from worry as she looked up at me once more and smiled. When she showed me that smile, that eerie feeling surrounding her faded. But even then, she was still as mysterious to me as ever. We arrived at the corner I had turned at earlier, but it wasn't much darker than before, and with point of view changed on the return trip, I wasn't very confident that this was the corner I turned at. It's no mistake, it had to be this corner. As I began to move my feet again, the girl grabbed onto my clothes. Isn't Asaka-san going back to the hospital? Of course, at least I won't intend to. Am I going the wrong way? A short moment of silence. Eventually, still holding onto my clothes, she began to walk. It was the beginning of the walk to the hospital this mysterious girl would take me on. Higurashi, when they cry, when they see red, see but then why doesn't have any meaning because it's not red? Hmm. The person who was running around cutting all the phone calls was you, wasn't it, Rika-chan? You shouldn't do that anymore. Hmm. I'm not sure what you're talking about. Really? She tried to play dumb, but it was written all over her face. Nipa. It's obvious she was trying to laugh it off, but that adorable smile of hers made me want to forgive her. Ugh, I'm gonna be a horrible father, aren't I? That momentary lapse in tension was eased by her next words. It's good that they found the grandson, safe and sound, and able to respond right away as sunk into silence. I'd already learned that this from Sato-san's information, hadn't I? This girl, now the entire village knew everything. This moment I set foot into it. Oop. I considered playing dumb, but in the end I chose not to. With everything already being known, there was no point in faking my ignorance. Somehow. That's great. Now you can go back to Tokyo. Thank you. Are your injuries bad, Osaka-san? Don't know. I haven't heard anything from the doctor yet, so I don't know if they are or not. Huh? When I think of it, I vaguely remember being told to lie down and take it easy for at least 24 hours. Did that mean bed rest? The wounded shouldn't be sneaking out of the hospital. People shouldn't be cutting phone cords. Meep. I have no idea what you mean, what you're talking about. And I don't know what you're talking about either. As we played dumb with each other, we both laughed at the same time. If somebody saw us laughing at each other like this, it would probably bring a smile to their lips. The chances of Asaka-san leaving the village alive weren't very high. I don't want Asaka-san to die, so I'm glad you're leaving the village alive. Mika-chan, did you know what I was right from the beginning? She said nothing but gave a firm nod. Well then, I think you know this, but probably somewhat of an enemy to the people in the village, I would think. But you still gave me lots of warnings. That's right. She said at that time she wouldn't want someone that she was okay with dying. She definitely said something like that. Then, I should probably be thanking you. You probably should. I'm your savior. Saying that, she puffed up her chest proudly. She said it jokingly, but the meaning behind those words was quite heavy. That was because whether I lived or died was a decision that might have been made in a place unbeknownst to me. She said those words with an adorable smile, but that it took a few moments of silence for their weight to settle in. I'd been to this place before. Oh, I'm at the shrine. The Defense Alliance office was there. There was this stone steps leading up to the Furudu shrine. When I passed by before, I was so focused on finding a phone booth, I hadn't realized where I was. If I recall correctly, this shrine is Rika Furudu's house, right? Yeah, something like that. Looking up at the shrine grounds, it was brightly lit and energetic voices could be heard. What was going on? There's a festival today. A festival? The best and only festival in Himazawa, the Watanagashi Festival. Watanagashi? Cotton drifting? Just knowing the name is boring. Do you want to take a look? She asked bluntly, but seeing that I looked interested, she climbed up a couple stairs and motioned for me to come. I was only going to go back and sleep anyways. If I had nothing to do, it might not be a bad idea to go with her on a little detour. In the hostile territory that was this village, I didn't know what would happen if I ventured down a side road without Ushi. Even though I thought of the village like that, when I was with this girl I forgot all about her. In any case, even without anything to back it up, I felt that as long as I was with her, none of the ill will from the village would befall me. That's why, even though I knew my cover was blown, I strangely had no qualms about stepping foot into the heart of the Oniga-Ushi Defense Alliance's territory. Climbing up to the grounds of the shrine, I could see that there were three pavilions set up, with meeting tables and folding chairs. There were folks from the village. No, the executives of the Defense Alliance were already quite drunkenly sharing another round of drinks. I could see as people from the village council drinking while enjoying the evening air. The very least, it was certainly quite different than any festival I've seen. See? It's quite a boring festival, isn't it? Haha. It certainly doesn't look like a festival. It's a festival that's happening since a long time ago, but as you can see, it's not like it used to be. As if to try the old folks, she said that while looking at them with an exasperated expression. You really couldn't tell this was a festival anymore. Call this a festival anymore. It was just a bunch of neighbors getting along to drink under the guise of a festival. I feel sorry for the deity being celebrated here. Give this sorry excuse for a festival 5 or 6 more years and everyone in the village will start coming. The ceremony will be done properly and it will be a respectable festival again. What she said was not so much wishful thinking as it was the telling of a future that had already been determined. Well, she's not wrong. She wasn't even predicting, it was almost like she was simply reporting the results. That's how it sounded. Even though it was based on speculation, the way she said it wouldn't let me interject. It was the same way she talked when she changed. While I struggled to find the words to reply to her, she wandered to the other side of the grounds, not minding me at all. Not in a state where I could afford to be left behind, I hurriedly followed her. Passing through a copse of pine trees, a strong and a cool breeze ruffled my hair. There from that one evening was the splendid observation platform the girl had shown me. It's Himazawa, but it's nighttime this time. As it had grown considerably dark, the modest lights littered across the nice scape were proving a different type of scenery. I think I've seen this in chapter 2, right? Looking at it like this whole village seemed tranquil. She said that with an indifferent look on her face. Just the other day, you said that this village definitely wouldn't be submerged by the dam, didn't you? She didn't reply, seemingly relishing the feeling of the wind blowing through her hair. Didn't that mean that at that point in time the minister had already compiled with the demands? She spun around, her gaze meeting mine, but she said nothing. She spoke nothing that would neither confirm nor deny what I just said. This case will probably remain shrouded in darkness. Headquarters probably doesn't want trouble from a scandal with the minister breaking out. There's no mistake that they threatened to kill the grandchild. Then, negotiation with the minister was successful and the grandson was released. The one who saved the grandson was you. I wonder about that. The discovery of that wallet that started a chain of events. That alone was almost too convenient, I would think. Ever since the moment that water was discovered, I felt something was odd. Rishi said it as well, that the Shinozaki family had given the order to release a hostage, meaning that our little manhunt was a farce to begin with. Come to think of it, I was punched, kicked, and had a gun pointed at me. I felt like they put up quite a fight, but that might have all been part of a good performance. Once the negotiation was successful, they couldn't just say here you go and return the minister right to his doorstep. I don't think those guards were actually informed of any of this, but whatever. They knew that public safety had realized that this was a kidnapping case and were moving in on it. That's why, due to the actions of public safety, the grandson was able to be rescued safely. So the minister didn't give in to any unreasonable demands. That type of performance was necessary. I don't know about these difficult things. Likewise, even for me, I can't make much sense of it. But there's one thing I'm certain of. It's just as you said, this village won't be submerged. The dam project will soon be over. That wasn't sounding, that wasn't something an officer of the law should be saying. But I naturally let those words slip out from my mouth. The village may have been stirred up in all sorts of trouble, but that was because they were protecting their homes. If someone just decided by themselves that I had to leave the house and I was used to live in, I would resent them, or I would resent them as well. On top of that, it wasn't a place like mine where I just happened to be renting it, but a place that their families had lived for generations. It might be ignorant to call their resistance an overreaction. I might not really be qualified to criticize politics or bureaucracy, but deliberately building a dam on land that was loved by its residents wasn't something I could get behind. You can get behind it before. I guess you changed. Still, aren't you glad? Why would I? Why would that be? At the very least, with this, peace would be returned to the village. Even though the minister promised to use his considerable influence against the project, it would probably take more than a few months before it would be scrapped. At the very least, it would probably take 1 or 2 years for this village to officially hear that for the villagers to officially hear that their village wasn't going to be submerged at the bottom of a dam was still a ways away. It was by no mistake that the promise of peace returning to the village was there. It turned out from the beginning to the end that it had already been decided. Just as the girl had said, it was decided. There wasn't really a need for me to come here in the first place. There was absolutely no need for me to have come here and aggravate an unpleasant situation. If I hadn't come here then, the grandson's release might have been done in a more amicable way. Peace? In this village? When I nodded, she laughed as if to admonish me, but her face remained indifferent, expressionless. And then her eyes narrowed as she snickered. Even though every year from now on something bloody will occur? Rika-chan, what are you talking about? Rika-chan, how do you know about the curses? As the wind blew her hair about, the girl, as if taking pleasure in that I was the only one who didn't know. Hmm? Is she really Orishira's Sama's descendant? Continued to snicker as she looked at my face for a while. You see, in a few years, I'll be killed. Huh? Backlit by the moon, it was hard to tell if her expression that had been cast in a shadow was smiling, amused, or resigned. You are. Why? It's a very unpleasant thing, though. It's almost probably. It's also probably been decided already. Decided already? Who would decide that sort of thing? I'd like to know as well. Turning back to face me, she showed me a resolute expression for the first time, and after staring into my eyes for a moment, she turned back to gaze at the scenery before she spoke her next words. There's a lot of people who have no regards for human life. Even if I tell you this, it might not change anything though. But if you want to erase the spectre of death sometimes, like with all the reflections of the moon on the water, all you have to do is throw a small stone. I had no idea what she was trying to say. Hmm? Yeah, I don't think these ripples are gonna do anything. The main character doesn't seem to understand. It's just that, I had to listen to every word with my body and soul, or at least that's what I thought. This day next year, yes, June 1979 on this day, the foreman of the dam construction project will be killed. What? For a moment I couldn't comprehend what she was talking about, But the woman, did she mean that gruff old man I played Mahjong with? Be killed? What makes you think? She didn't answer, but she had the same expression on her face as she did when she declared that the damn project would go away. That wasn't the face of someone making a forecast or prediction. It was something that had already been decided, no. It was as if she was reporting the results, that sort of expression. After being killed in a gruesome way, the body would be torn apart and disposed of, murdered and dismembered. The next year, in June of 1980, on this day, Satoko's parents would be pushed to their deaths. Satoko? It was the first time I've heard that name, but I didn't have the courage to interrupt the girl's story. It might be an accident, an unfortunate accident. The girl smiled faintly, but she wasn't exactly encouraging me to smile along with a lifeless look in her eyes. And then, the year after that, this day in June of 1981, my parents would be killed. And then the year after that, this day in June of 1982, Satoko's abusive aunt will have her head split open and die. And then, the year after that, this day in the June of 1983, or possibly a few days after that, I will be killed. So you're the sacrifice? But why did everyone else die then? Weird. If all the deaths are coordinated, then the last one would also be all according to plan, but then whose plan would it be? That's really weird. How come, like, a lot of people died on that year then, if you were supposed to be the one who was killed? Not just keeping it away, this village is full of murderers and people who have no regards for human life. It would be fine to believe that all the deaths up until 1982 would be the work of someone in the village. It would be fine to believe that all the deaths that would occur were at the desertion of those who controlled the village. But that didn't explain what would happen in 1983. There was no way that the last death would fit in with anyone's plans. They had no regard for human life. They would use every means at their disposal to meet their goals, but their goals were at odds with their last death. That's why the last death was unrelated to them, but that last death would definitely, most likely, probably, without question, happen. Probably, definitely, I would dare to say. The last death would be a merciful one. A handkerchief or something being placed over their mouth, making them lose consciousness never to wake up again. Exactly whose plan was that? I want to live happily, that's my only wish. Surrounded by my precious friends, spending our days enjoyably. Only that, I don't wish for anything more than that. Mika-chan, I don't want to die. The girl, stunning as ever, let those words slip in the very end. Eventually, we were escorted by some drunks. The girl as well as I were dragged back to the festivals. Everyone was completely drunk, so even when they saw my head completely wrapped in bandages, they wouldn't let me leave. While certainly if I was in a good enough condition to slip out of the hospital, it must not be that serious. The girl was mingling with everyone, being pampered like a kitten. Especially was adorable, nothing like the one I'd seen just before. Predicting her own death and whispering that she didn't want to die. Having said that, having a silly and lively conversation like this, it was hard to believe that that these people were the crew of an extremist resistance group. Even if it was a shell of its former self, it was a festival where people in the village gathered, so the 20-some old folk here should have included some of the village's executives and other important members. Among them, there was no doubt that there were members that were at the Shinzaki family council in attendance. Meaning, even if we never met face to face before, there were people here who knew my identity. In a small village like this, they knew the faces of all the villagers that lived here. That's why, without even saying anything, it soon became obvious that I was an outsider. But they actually seemed interested by that, asking me all sorts of questions about Tokyo, drinking while musing on the faint relationships the city had with the village, and emphasizing with regard the meager environment, the confidential talks with the minister. Finished, his grandson was in the police custody, everything was over. I might not have to be put in another precarious situation. To me, they were only my adversaries because of my job. Outside of that, there was no reason I couldn't be friendly with them. The next time I visited this village would if return to being a tranquil and beautiful place. If that happened, I might be able to take a relaxed walk around the village with her again. My cup was once again filled to the brim with beer. By the time I was able to get away, it was the middle of the night. The girl had at some point disappeared. Seemed that her parents had told her to go home and sleep. When she let out a big yawn. The old folks who had such no remorse from being an injured person hang out with them told me as much as they laughed. I was just there drinking, so I had to go to help a bit with cleaning up. However, my help was refused on the grounds that I was a guest. On top of that, they had a car prepared to take me back to the hospital. Losing the battle against my sleepiness inside the car, I was starting to sleep until we reached the parking lot of the hospital. The front door of the hospital was naturally locked at this hour. I wandered around bewildered, searching for a back entrance until somebody at night duty found and let me inside. Where were you this late at night? Dr. Ari was worried, you know. Sorry for the trouble. I was held up by the people having a festival at the shrine. Oh, they did say something about everyone in the town council getting together for a drink. My condolences. Are your wounds alright? They're throbbing a bit, but it's probably because of the alcohol, I think. Oh, that's right. The detective that was with you wanted to get in touch. Oops. I kept Ushi waiting. I glanced at the clock. No matter how you look at it, it was too late to call him now. I'll apologize to him tomorrow over the phone. I returned back to my hospital room and slipped into the bed that was still unmade from the time I went outside. Oh, that's no good. I had to turn off the lights. For my weariness had cut the cords powering my body, lulling me into a deep sleep. Bum 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 bum. Higurashi when they cry. Okay, so maybe there is 2 more chapters left then. I didn't really leave this time, I just walked around. Mother's Diary 1, 2, and 3. Red books. Okay, Mother's Diary, what's this? Whose mother? There was something I didn't like about my child. I first realized it when I started writing these things down. I never warned you about it in any of the books raising children, but they aren't just a plaything. If they aren't able to feel loved even when they're not doing exactly as their parents want them to, then those parents are failures. This wasn't something like that though. How can I say it? It's probably harder to express with mere words. I just want my child to be average, as long as they don't fall behind. They weren't falling behind, there wasn't any need for them to excel at anything. As long as they acted accordingly for their age, I would have been fine with it, but my child had been different ever since kindergarten. While the children in her class were running around in excitement about the field trip the next day, she only wore a bored expression on her face, aloof and distant. Are you talking about Rika-chan? When the other kids broke the equipment for the athletic festival and were apologizing furiously, she only wore a bored expression, aloof and distant. When the teacher was reading a fun picture book, only she wasn't smiling. Even if they were going to eat a delicious bento, only she wasn't happy. If it was only this, it would still be in the realm of understanding. However, what I don't understand about my child is that the aforementioned situations happened again, that they would now act in a manner befitting their age. I don't understand the principle behind that as a parent. Maybe they're observing how to behave like the other kids. Why were they indifferent about the field trip but happy about this one? Why were they indifferent about the picture book but happy about this one? Why were they indifferent about the bento but happy about this one? The former and the latter in each situation seemed exactly the same to me. There were even times when I thought the former one was better. I don't understand the child's feelings. During parent-teaching meetings, the teacher always says the same thing. And I respond that I don't understand my own child, and we would mope together. My husband, always the optimist, once said that a young child's feelings are different from an adult's. So, if there were some things we didn't understand, we shouldn't worry about it. I lament his lack of urgency. One day when I was in a good mood, I took the effort to prepare a menu that my child would enjoy, but she only smiled with a vague expression of disinterest. That attitude frankly made me angry, so I hit her on the head. What? Okay. On a day when the weather was nice. The laundry I had just hung up to dry was blown by a large gust of wind, causing the entire line to fall down. But um, but she watching me trying to pick up the laundry, stood there laughing. Makes sense. That attitude frankly made me angry, so I hit her on the head again. I think the same sort of thing happened countless times. Before I knew, my child was only able to look at me with an indifferent expression on her face. I regretted the fact that I'd been a bad mother. Thinking I should regain her trust, I thought to get it back little by little with some light interactions. Seeing her do some sort of craft work on a vendetta, I called out to her. These past few days have been nice and sunny. The air feels nice, doesn't it? That child with that indifferent expression, indifferent look on her face, I hated so much, looked up at me for a moment, then, without a word, returned to immersing herself in her craft work. But now I would have hit her on the head just for that. That's a bit of a low bar, isn't it? I held myself back. What are you making? Is it a doll? A weather charm. That child was using inserts from the newspapers to uh, definitely make some weather charms. The forecast hadn't called for rain, but that child in her own way was praying that these sunny days would continue. Hmm? Oh, is that what I was talking about? I wanted to rain some days? In some of the tips? Was that Rika-chan? I see. Being able to understand my own child for the first time in a while, I couldn't hide my own happiness. Bringing out a ball of yarn, I began to hang my child's cute weather charm from the eaves of the house. Ha ha ha! It's no good, Rika-chan. The heads are too heavy, see? They've become reverse weather charms now. If they're like this, they'll call for rain instead of the sun. When I started to take them down, my child tugged at the hem of my shirt as if to stop me. That's because I made them to be upside down. They're fine. But Rika-chan, if they're upside down, they won't be a charm that calls for sunny days, you know. I was making a charm for it to rain, so they're fine. I desperately suppressed the emotions welling up inside of me. I was just trying to desperately understand my child. Oh, I see. The morning glories in the garden was starting to get a little withered from all the sun, so you wanted some rain, right? The child turned to me with the expression that I hated the most. Was it indifference? I got bored of the clear weather. I don't understand. I don't understand. I just can't understand that child. Hmm? Why do you want to be sunny all the time? I don't like the sun. We reached a different place. During the family council, she buried herself under Orio's futon again. Orio dots on her unwaveringly. No matter whatever insolence my child's commits, she doesn't mind. It's almost as though my child is a kitten or something. Orio dots on her exactly like you would with a kitten. As a mother, I chided her for doing that. Until Orio had said 3 times that it was fine, I chided her as a formality. Of course, she never lent an ear to any of my chidings. Knowing that Orio's standing was far above mine, she behaves like that. I didn't like the cunning that's unbefitting of her age either. In any case, not only Arya-san, but the rest of the old folks in the village spoil her too much. One day I was surprised. By chance on the way back from shopping, I saw her by herself just outside a candy shop. My child suddenly grabbed a snack, opened the package right there, then started eating it. She didn't make any attempt to pay for it, and she didn't even think of looking around. It didn't even feel like she was shoplifting, more like she was basically eating snacks that was offered to her. When I began to admonish my child, the elderly shop owner appeared and encouraged for her. The owner gave the ridiculous excuse that he had said that it was okay for the child to eat any of the snacks out by the entrance, so it was fine. When I tried to pay for the snacks that my child had eaten, the owner refused them my money. During that exchange, the more old folks had appeared, suddenly gathered around, and it began to feel like I was the one in the wrong. The elderly people all put their hands together verbally in front of my child and repeatedly voiced their respect. I was born in the Furudi family, so it wasn't like I didn't know why she was being treated specially. When I was young, it was something I heard often from my grandmother. If by chance the child I gave birth to was a girl, uh, that child would be the living incarnation of Orishida-sama. All the older folks believe she's the living incarnation of Orishida-sama and spoil her rotten. And not only did they spoil her, but they even told her she was the living incarnation of Orishida-sama. That she had divine powers and threw all sorts of strange folk tales her way. So she may have gone to believe herself that she was a special existence. I went around and told everyone that it wasn't good for her upbringing, so to stop telling her all these strange things, but there was no uprooting the elderly people's deep-seated superstitions. I told my child not to listen to them, but it ended up being that she stopped listening to me. Between all the old folks in the village who was doubting her and myself who only scolded her, there's no wonder who she would listen to. There's no mistaking that the reason she had become strange was because of the elderly villagers. There's no doubt that they had shoved her full of strange folklore tales and superstitions since she was young. If it wasn't for that, there was no doubt my child would have been cute and normal. Meepa? Meep. Hmm? Number 3. One sunny parent-teaching day, there was a cooking class and my child was making curry rice with a practiced hand. While other kids her age were awkwardly using their kitchen knives, the child was wielding hers defiantly. The teacher approached me with a smile on their face, saying it was the result of learning it at home. I managed to play it off with a fake smile and nodded in response. That was because I had never taught my child how to make curry rice. Even then, she peeled her vegetable with a practiced hand, added them into the pot in order of which took longer to cook. For a normal parent, they might unintentionally clap their hands together, happy at their child's action, but in my case it was different. There was no mistaking that someone had taught her how to make curry rice that when I wasn't taking care of her. Thinking that, I quietly fell into an unpleasant mood. When I asked, it seemed she could only sew and do the laundry. I had never taught her how to do those things, and again, never saw her do it around the house. Be it cooking, sewing, or the laundry, again, that was probably because the elderly folk, the villagers taught her all sorts of rubbish when I wasn't looking. And not only that, they taught her all sorts of strange superstitions, trying to prep her as the incarnation of Orishira-sama. I said as much to my husband, suggesting that we should keep our child away from the elderly folk. But my husband, who was in the position of being the head priest of the voodoo shrine, had little power against the elderly who supported it. He took the rather uncommitted stance of saying that as long as she was being doted upon, wasn't it fine? You know what? It's really strange that you killed yourself. Because how you're acting seems like you just don't really care about this Honta Orishiro-sama thing right now. And apparently you killed yourself because your husband died over it? Like, that's really strange. He took the rather that as long as she wasn't being doted upon, wasn't it fine? As long as she was being doted upon. I argued against that she was our child and she should be a completely normal girl. That what the elderly were expecting that she was the living condition of Orishiro-sama was simply odd. The elderly villagers believed that that child had divine powers. We would discuss the weather for the following day, but there were many times when I left the house without an umbrella and came back soaking. Rather than having clairvoyancy, that was just second-hand knowledge from watching the news all the time. There are things that she knew that she shouldn't have known were just a result of the people who were trying to indoctrinate her, and the people who were gossiping getting together in the village. I don't think the weather news is right all the time, like, aren't they wrong a lot as well? So I don't know how that would thingy, but whatever. However, there certainly were days when everybody thought it was going to be sunny all day, and that the child would suddenly not go out without an umbrella. It would occasionally rain, and in the end, we would be saved. There might have been times where Rika-chan knew of major incidences in foreign countries faster than the news did. I thought that she might have heard it break over the radio or something, knowing things she shouldn't have. Sometimes like that. Was in front of me right now, wasn't it? The child was making curry rice when there shouldn't have been anyone who taught her how to do it. No, that couldn't possibly be the case. Somebody had to taught her, indoctrinated her. When I wasn't taking care of her, someone had indoctrinated Rika with something. Rudy-san's curry is absolutely splendid. I'll give it a gold star. Nipa! Where did you learn to cook, Rudy-san? At home? Yes, at home. The other parents in the attendance were impressed. Lies, all lies. I didn't teach her anything. Who was it? Who was the person who had completely indoctrinated my child? She was my normal average daughter, not the living incarnation of Orishiro-sama. Maybe Rika's going back in time with the loops? I don't know. Because impact changes everything? Maybe. Hmm. Alright then. So maybe her dying is only one of the possibilities. I don't know. Anyway, that's it for this time, so bye bye.